I asked him if I could take part in a swinger party and explained that it wasn't cheating. I'm using a throwaway account for this post because what I'm about to share is very personal, and I'd rather not have it linked to my main account. My name is Alex, and I'm a 29-year-old woman. My ex Sam is my husband. He's 30. We grew up in a small town. Our parents were best friends before we were even born. This close connection extended to us, and we grew up as inseparable friends. We rarely did anything without involving the other. Then, when we got into high school, we realized our feelings for each other. We started dating and became high school sweethearts. We dated all the way into college, where we remained devoted to each other until we graduated and finally got married 2 years ago. We've been each other's first and only romantic experience. We never really had the chance to experiment or explore with other people. For every single moment in our life, we were each other's first. Initially, being each other's first didn't bother me much. I worked as a sales associate in a clothing store because I enjoyed the flexibility it offered. Time, opportunities, and the ability to swap shifts made it a perfect fit for me. Alex, on the other hand, had a career in cybersecurity and brought in a lot of money, which meant he could handle the bills while I took care of household responsibilities. I opted for a flexible job because I didn't want to be a stay-at-home wife without children, as I knew I would be bored all alone. We had plans for kids I'm in my 30s now, but I guess that's never going to happen. Initially, our marriage was like a fairy tale. We had exciting date nights and an amazing sex life. Alex was incredibly romantic, always surprising me with flowers, spontaneous dates, and helping with chores. Life seemed perfect. However, cracks began to appear. Despite all the romantic gestures and fairy tale moments, I started to feel suffocated and confined in my relationship with Sam. He had been my friend, my confidant, and the only person I had ever been intimate with. While that was very comforting at first, it gradually turned into a sense of being tied down. I couldn't shake off this feeling of being tied down and restricted. I felt like I was missing out on experiences others seemed to have and loved. I got jealous whenever I heard people talk about their adventures and freedom to explore different aspects of life. I wanted to step out of the boundaries that my marriage had set for me. Sam was strictly monogamous, and I knew he wouldn't even listen to the idea of an open relationship or exploring outside our marriage. I respected his opinion, and I believed in monogamy too, but I just wanted to see what it was like to explore it. It wasn't about seeking love or emotional connections elsewhere. It was about me satisfying this curiosity and my need to experience something different, even if just for once. This desire started changing into an environment. It started to take over my thoughts, becoming an obsession. I didn't love Sam any less, but I craved a taste of something new. As I felt more and more confined in my marriage, I started to resent Sam, even though I knew he hadn't done anything wrong. It was more about my own stupid desires and feeling like I was missing out. I tried to stay busy and distract myself from these thoughts. I even tried to stop myself from considering cheating or suggesting an open marriage. I had this idea that we should speed up our plans to have kids. I thought that might give me something else to focus on and fill that void I was feeling. But I hesitated because I knew it was a big decision. Then along came Lily. She was new at work, and I showed her the ropes, but we quickly became more than just colleagues. We hit it off at work. We started having lunch together, exchanged numbers, and before I knew it, she was like my best friend. We hung out outside of work, sharing all sorts of things. It all happened in less than a month. We became friends too quickly, but back then I was just happier to have a friend to confide in. I've always been an introvert, even from my high school days, so I didn't have many close friends. Sam noticed the change in me and how much happier I seemed with Lily in my life. He liked that I had a friend, especially since I hadn't had many close friends before. He supported my friendship with Lily. I felt good with Lily at first, but I had no idea things were about to change. I never expected them to, as I spent more and more time with her. She was carefree and flirtatious, and she caught my attention. She seemed to have a knack for flirting with almost anyone we encountered, and it got me thinking, especially the Moss. Since she was in a committed relationship but still flirted openly, I eventually mustered up the courage to ask her about it. Lily told me she and her partner were in an open relationship, which piqued my curiosity. I shared my own desire for something more than just being with Sam, but I knew Sam was strictly into one. Lily suggested a swinger party. She said that since going fully open wasn't possible for us right now, trying something like a swinger party could be a middle ground. We could experiment with swapping partners or even having a threesome, just to dip our toes into the world of non-monogamy. Monogamy was her suggestion, and it left me feeling both nervous and fascinated. I went home and started searching for information on swingers parties and what they entail. It sounded very wild, and I was into it, but convincing Sam felt like trying to move a mountain. I knew suggesting such a thing to Sam would be met with a big furore. I couldn't convince him to even consider it, despite knowing Sam wouldn't be open to the idea of a swinger party. I was excited, though. Lily was very pushy and persistent. She kept nudging me to talk to Sam about it. At first, I brushed it off, but her words stuck with me. She made it sound like I felt like I was missing out on something amazing if I didn't at least try to discuss it with Sam. After a few days of thinking it over, I decided to bring it up with him. I was nervous, to say the least. I didn't know how he would react, and I didn't want to ruin what we had. But Lily's encouragement gave me a bit of courage. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could have. I finally mustered the courage to bring up the idea of attending a swinger party with Sam. He wasn't thrilled. I poured my heart out, explaining how I felt stifled and suffocated in our marriage, and my curiosity about exploring and trying new things. I explained that I wasn't suggesting an open relationship, just a one. I'd been to a swinger party and all, but Sam was dead set against it. He said he wasn't interested in anything non-monogamous. He even asked if I was cheating on him. I told him I wasn't. I was just curious and wanted to try something new. He said he thought any sexual exploration or activity outside of our marriage was wrong. I tried to explain that it was all about consent, but he wasn't having it. He wouldn't budge on the issue of monogamy, even though I kept insisting it wasn't cheating. Sam's a strict monogamist, and that was that. He warned me that if I went ahead without him, it meant divorce. It was a bitter pill to swallow. I decided to drop it, but when I told Lily about the conversation, she thought Sam just needed a little encouragement to change his mind. I followed Lily's advice, but things took a turn for the worse. I started trying to persuade Sam to reconsider going to the swingers party. My mood plummeted, and I was always on edge. I began snapping at Sam for no reason. I neglected my share of household chores, and my behavior turned sour and rude. Lily, however, was a constant cheerleader. She insisted that I deserved to explore my desires and that Sam needed to give in. Her encouragement was what pushed me to do it. She made me think I was right to do what I did, even when Sam noticed I was acting differently and tried to talk to me about it. I ignored him and wouldn't listen, and things got worse between us. I kept pushing for something Sam didn't want, which made everything tense. Our conversations would often turn into arguments, and even the brief moments of peace we had felt strained. It was like walking on eggshells all the time. Sam tried to talk to me to figure out what was going on, but I was stubborn. I shut him out, convinced that I was right, and he just didn't understand. I was so focused on what I wanted that I didn't see how much I was hurting him, and our home, which was once filled with love and laughter, now felt like a battleground. I was distant, moody, and neglecting my responsibilities. Sam was hurt and confused and wondering why I was acting this way and why I couldn't see how. Despite his patience and love, I was pushing him away. I couldn't change his mind. I was stuck in my own world of desires and fantasies, blind to the damage I was causing to our relationship. It was a very tough time for both of us. We didn't know how to bridge the growing gap between us. Sam sat me down and said he wasn't happy with how things were at home. I was taken aback. I initially blamed him, but Sam was the calm one and made me see things from his side. He said we both had feelings and thoughts, and we needed to work together to fix things. In a moment of desperation, I suggested that if he just came to one swingers party with me, it would fix everything. To my surprise, Sam agreed to go to the swingers party with me. I was over the moon. I finally got my way, and it felt like a major victory. Lily was all in, cheering me on like a coach on game day. I had convinced myself that this party was the magic solution to all our problems. I was so convinced that once it was over, I would go back to being the loving, supportive wife I used to be, and everything would be hunky-dory again. I was so focused on my own anticipation that I completely overlooked how Sam might be feeling about it. Looking back now, I see how on the day of the party, I was feeling pretty centered and clueless. I was really excited and eager to get things started, so I tried to reassure Sam that it would be fun. But deep down, I knew he wasn't comfortable, and I brushed those concerns aside, convinced that this was the key to my happiness. As we stepped into the party, I could see the discomfort clearly on Sam's face. He was trying to be a good sport for my sake, but it was obvious he was out of his element. Everything about the party, the vibe, the people, it was clear that this was all new to him, and I could sense his unease. We tried to mingle, but it felt forced. Sam was polite, but I could tell he was way out of his comfort zone. Meanwhile, I was caught up in the excitement, eager to try something new and adventurous. But as the night wore on, it became painfully clear that this was a huge mistake. Sam's discomfort only grew, and I felt a pang of guilt for dragging him into something he clearly wasn't into. When we left the party and got back, I felt bad for making him go through all that. When I got home, I could feel the tension between us. Sam was silent, but I could tell he was disappointed. The atmosphere was so tense, it was like knives were being thrown around. I knew right then that things had taken a turn for the worse. I thought the party would be the magic fix, but it backfired spectacularly. I thought the party would bring us closer, but it did the opposite. It made me see how much I had pushed Sam and how it was driving us apart. A few days after the party, Sam was distant. He retreated into silence, barely saying a word to me. Every attempt I made to engage him in conversation or reconnect felt like hitting a brick wall. It was as if he had built a fortress around himself, shutting me out completely. I tried everything I could think of to bridge the gap between us. I picked up extra chores around the house, hoping to show him that I was willing to make amends. I cooked his favorite meals, bought little gifts, anything to try to win him back. I tried everything I could think of to bridge the gap between us, but no matter what I did, Sam remained distant and unresponsive. It was like trying to hold on to sand slipping through my fingers. The more I tried to reach out, the more he seemed to withdraw. His silence spoke volumes. It was clear that he was hurt and disappointed. I started feeling the weight of my actions pressing down on me like a heavy burden. The guilt started gnawing at me, knowing that I had pushed him into something he never wanted. I wished we could go back to the times when we were happy and carefree. Despite my efforts to mend things, it seemed like Sam had made up his mind. The damage was done. I tried talking to Lily about how Sam was acting, but she just brushed it off, saying he was overreacting. She didn't know what was going on. When I got home that day, I saw my things out on the porch. Sam had kicked me out, plain and simple. I called and banged on the door, but Sam wouldn't answer. Eventually, he opened the door and told me calmly that he wanted me out. He said he'd thought a lot about it and felt like I was putting myself first, even when I knew it was hurting him. He didn't yell or scream, but his words cut deep. He wanted a divorce and made it clear that I had to leave because the house was in his name. He'd even packed my stuff and put it outside. I was devastated, begging him to listen, but he wouldn't budge. It was like a punch to the gut as I realized I was on the brink of losing everything because of my selfishness. I begged and begged, hoping he'd change his mind, but Sam remained unmoved. He offered me freedom to do as I pleased, but it felt empty without the love and connection we once had. That's when I also realized that Lily wasn't as supportive as I thought she was, and that hit hard. I spent a good amount of time just crying, trying to come to terms with the fact that Sam wasn't budging. No amount of pleading was going to change his mind. It was obvious that I had to leave. Maybe I could come back when things had cooled down. Packing up my stuff felt like going through the motions of a bad dream. I considered crashing at my parents' place, but I didn't want to face their judgment and blame. I knew that they loved Sam like he was their own child, so I knew they would blame me. I needed a safe space, someone who would understand without pointing fingers. I dialed Lily's number. I was hoping for a way out, but instead I got a harsh reality check. She shut me down without a second thought and placed the responsibility for my situation squarely on my shoulders. It was like a punch to the gut, hearing her say we weren't that close and that I had to clean up my own mess. Those words stung. This was someone I had confided in, someone I had considered a close friend, yet in my time of need, she distanced herself and showed her true colors. I had nowhere else to go. I had no choice but to check into a hotel. I felt betrayed and lost, and that is where I currently am. I'm now dealing with the aftermath of this massive mess that I've made. I haven't reached out to family or close friends yet because I'm just not ready for the lectures and the I told you so moments. That's why I'm venting here. It feels safer. I'm not looking for advice or harsh criticism. I just need to let out all this frustration and sadness. I know some people might come around. It'll take time, but I'm trying to look past the immediate fallout. I'm not sure when or how things will start to feel normal again. I'm just trying to wait out the storm, take some time to figure things out, and then maybe I'll be ready to face the world outside again. I have faith that Sam will find it in his heart to forgive me eventually. Right now, though, I understand that he needs space to process everything. It's not easy to mend something that's been broken. I've realized that I made a mistake. I ignored how he was feeling because I selfishly wanted to satisfy myself. I believe that time and thinking things through can work wonders. Right now, emotions are intense and messy. If I rush to fix things, it could just make things worse. Sam needs to calm down, think things over, and figure out what he wants moving forward. Meanwhile, I'm trying hard to think about what I've done and learned from it. It's a tough lesson, but I know it'll make me stronger in the end. I'll be patient, give Sam his space, and hope that eventually things will heal and we'll find forgiveness. Update. Reddit, it's been about a day since I shared my thoughts here. I wasn't expecting such a massive response, but I'm grateful for the support and even the tough love to address some of the common themes in the comments. I want to share a few thoughts. Firstly, many of you suggested that Sam and I might not be compatible and that it would probably be better if we were to divorce. I disagree. We've been together since childhood and our bond runs very deep. This was a moment of selfishness and poor judgment on my part, not an indication of incompatibility. We've been through worse before and came out stronger. This whole thing will pass in due time. Regarding Lily, yes, she showed her true colors in my time of need. I've cut ties with her and learned a hard lesson about who I can truly rely on now. For the update, I finally reached out to my sisters, despite I knew I'd get their I told you so reactions, so I told them I needed their help to get in touch with our parents and other siblings. They understand the seriousness of the situation and are willing to stand by me and help me. The plan is to talk to our parents who have a close relationship with Sam's parents. With their influence, we hope they can help me get in touch with either Sam or Sam's parents. Sam respects my parents deeply, and I know that their words would greatly influence his decision. I'm optimistic that I can make things right. I'm very grateful for the support and advice from this community. It's a challenging time, but I'm taking steps to make things right. Thank you all. Update. I've been struggling since my last post. Despite my efforts and my family's support, things haven't gone well. Sam, I just couldn't find it in myself to forgive myself. Sam was adamant that he wouldn't forgive me. At least that's what they told me. They said they tried to talk to him, but he told them that he couldn't forgive me. I was really taken aback when my parents said I should pack up and come back home because Sam wasn't going to change his mind. I cried a lot after that. I had a phone call recently, and it's starting to sink in that I might have to move back home. That would mean leaving my job, which isn't easy. My parents live about 2.5 hours away, and I can't make that drive every day. I don't even get paid much at the place where I work, but it's better than nothing. Thankfully, my manager is cool about it. It's not that we're short-staffed, so that's a relief. Still, it's a blow to my income, and I'll have to figure that out once I'm settled. I'm grateful for my parents' help and understanding, even though it's a very tough pill to swallow. It's a humbling experience, realizing the consequences. I have to accept the consequences of my actions and start over. But sometimes you just have to go with the flow and make the best of a tough situation. I wanted to give you an update. Reddit, things have taken a legal turn. I just got served, so I'll be heading to court soon. It's a bit of a challenge even thinking about it, and I could really do with some luck trying to reach Sam. It's been a bit disheartening, to be honest. He's not responding to my messages or calls, even when I try reaching out through different numbers. He quickly figures it out and hangs up. The comments here haven't been easy either. The criticism and negative comments are really draining me. Well, I'm dropping this quick update for those following along. Thanks for listening. Update. This is likely my final update here. I just wanted to touch base with everyone who's been following along from the start. The divorce process was surprisingly straightforward. I had already signed the papers Sam sent over, so there wasn't much of a struggle. With only 2 years of marriage and no children or shared property, there were fewer complications. The house was in Sam's name, so that was something I couldn't take. I also didn't want to prolong the process. It's been a painful experience, especially with the silence from Lily. I had hoped she would reach out or at least check on me, but that didn't happen. Hunting hasn't been as straightforward as my parents made it sound. It's a competitive market, but I'm staying optimistic that I'll find something soon. The comments here have been mixed, but I appreciate the support and understanding from those who have been kind. This will likely be my last update, so thank you all for listening and being part of this journey with me.